Hello, humans. So there was a series he came up with in his mind to talk about teams that didn't make the playoffs.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, you were like, we need to create a series, a playlist for them to watch, right? So we talked about Clutch, which is probably not going to be Clutch next year because they're going to be Dig to Throw.
How many videos are we doing today?
All right, so this one we'll talk about is CLG. Because CLG were one game away from making the playoffs. And they lost to Echo Trash. So, what can they improve on going into the summer split?
I mean, obviously, they don't have an ADC. I don't think Stixxay is good. I'm just going to be honest. Stixxay is not good enough. The mid lane is their only strong lane.
I mean, we predicted that going in, though.
Well, I mean, there's a few things we could have not predicted, though. I think that their support is decent. I think that Bioffrost is not a weak... he's a pretty competent enough support to where I would say you can keep him, but you need to get rid of everybody else. Wiggly did not come up to standard. I think that Stixxay's been a pretty large disappointment, and Darshan's just terrible.
Darshan should have been kicked ages ago.
So you're going to need to rebuild, because even if you make playoffs, you're essentially just giving yourself false hope, because these players are not good enough to compete. I think that what they would want to do is probably look towards the challenger scene. Look towards the EU challenger scene, because there's a lot of players in that scene.
If you guys watch those EU Master games, those are some great top laners.
So essentially what happens, if you get rid of these players, you still have, like, again, you have one import slot. You can make it in some role. I don't know what role you'd save it for. I would suggest the top or the jungle. I don't think ADC is the way to go at this point. You can at the very least, whatever, keep Stixxay, and so you can keep a natural... You can keep the import slot on a different role, and then try and play from there, because I think the solo lanes are the best way to go right now.
I think, like, if we go by lane, we could start with Biofrost, probably. Like, Biofrost, he hasn't looked amazing since he left TSM, but he's looked average.
I think he's looked above average, at the very least. I think a lot of it comes down to him being in a lane where he's playing with a worse player.
Yeah.
I also think that the reason he's not succeeding a lot is because he does not make... He's more so as a... reactionary player. He doesn't make plays happen. He more so facilitates the ADC, who should be taking control of the lane. And that's obviously something that Stixxay is not going to be doing, so this lane was not going to work out in general.
Stixxay hasn't played good in, I don't know how many splits at this point.
It's not been that many. I mean, last year he played pretty fine.
This year it's just been he can't carry. He gets caught out too much. He's not even winning his lane. There was that lane against TSM where Sven destroyed him. Like, I think, like, they got to go with their... But they can't go with their academy bottom lane either. Tuesday and... Like, not Tuesday.
No, they're bad too. I'm not talking about their academy. Their academy's garbage. You look towards the other academy scenes and see if you can take one of their players.
Maybe they could take Cody's son.
That wouldn't be a bad choice, to be honest. I think
Cody's son would work fine with them.
Cody's son would work pretty decently well with them.
Maybe take Piglet.
Okay.
Hey, he would have been closer to playoffs on CLG than he was on Clutch. Does that's sad when you have Clutch as Huni and Lyra. That's crazy,
so
isn't
all
it?
around, I think that if you want to make this team work, you need to either replace them. Again, Power Vivo was one of the best mid laners in the league this split, so I don't think he was as good as Froggen or any of the very top. I think he's better than Niski at the very least.
Yeah.
So I think that he's more so in that top 4 position, right below Froggen. For the most part, I think that if you want to make this team succeed, you play around him. He's obviously the strongest player on this team. Whatever, at the very least, you have to replace top lane. Top lane is literally it's going to be a detriment if they keep this player, like if Darshan on the team, because he's not able to compete with anybody. He's worse. Like, even
He's
Impact,
probably just as bad as Dokla.
Yeah, honestly, Impact, who's struggling to keep his team
afloat
because he's such a weak link in the laning phase, is substantially better than him. It's ridiculous how little he brings to the table, yet somehow they keep thinking that it's okay to keep him split after split.
Because maybe they're really good friends with him. Maybe they think, like, if they kick him, that's gonna, like, be bad on their part because he spent so much time in the league and that he's done so much for the league itself.
That's stupid.
I mean, there's a lot of things that could be happening. Maybe he has a good relationship with them, and maybe he puts in a lot of hours in solo queue, and maybe he does a lot for the team out behind the scenes. But I think they should probably try out Fallen Bandit again. I don't feel like they gave Fallen Bandit a chance, really.
Give him a few more games, and then at the very least, he was actually worse than Darshan for the bit. So I'm not sure that's the best pickup, but kind of give him a. I would say giving him a chance is not a bad idea.
Well, they could grab Kumo from Cloud9 Academy. I think Kumo would be a good upgrade for them.
I don't think his name is Kumo. It's
Kumo, right?
no.
Shiro?
Shiro is that's his name. Shiro's the top laner.
Yeah, I think Shiro Kumo, wherever he goes by nowadays.
It's literally, did he change his name?
Whatever he goes by, I think that he's just a substantial better player right now than as it stands.
I mean, there's not much to talk about CLG. Again, there's a few things they could change.
Would you honestly replace Moon with Wiggly? Because
No.
Moon looked terrible.
Moon is terrible. I think the only choice they have, everything else, again, they have a lot of weaknesses around the laning phase, but there's not much I can say besides replace these players. Get a better
drafting. How do you think their drafting went?
The drafting wasn't terrible because again, their coaching staff found a decisive way they could play around Darsan. I think towards the later half of the season,
You want to repeat that again?
Out of desperation, because again, Darsan, they tried to play around Darsan because they knew they were not doing well, and I don't know if the coaching staff's the problem here, but they didn't do well at the level. Giving on hit Nico to Darsan was stupid.
I think that single-handedly cost them. No. When they subbed out the players against the Golden Guardian game, I think that's what cost them a playoff spot.
What I'll say is I don't think their coaching staff is insanely bad, but I do think they are a slight problem.
I think Weldon was fine for his first year head coaching.
I think for the most part you can make this coaching staff work. I think the biggest problem is going to come down to I know they have to replace Darsan. And that's something I've already touched on. I won't do it too much.
Yeah.
Power of Evil, again, more resources need to be, even the more than he's already getting right now, need to be...
He need all the resources.
Put into him. He's the only moderately decent carry. I think with the change of tank junglers coming into the meta, I think Wiggly might stand a better chance. So I'm kind of excited to see that. Maybe he works out a little better. And Biofrost is playing well. I think that we're gonna have to there's Cody Sun would be a gigantic upgrade. I would like to see that, but if it doesn't happen, Stixxay, the only thing they can do is get better players.
Even Brandini from TSM Academy would be better for them.
They don't have. I mean, even decisive shot calling isn't enough with the way. That's not going to be enough for them to come back. I can't say much more.
But back in the day, they functioned off shot calling.
Well, I think back in the day, they had a good shot caller.
Well, that's the thing though. Like once Afmaru left, I had flamed when I said this. I don't think the team's gonna be good. They literally it went through the same thing Cloud9 went through when they lost their shot caller. Who's giving direction on the map? Nobody is. Biofrost isn't like that. We've seen enough out of that. I think when you look at how COG originally functioned, I've been saying this for a while. Just go back to a support shot caller that knows what he wants to do around the map.
Well, they don't just appear. You need to find one. If you can't find a support one, it's not about the support. It's not about the role. It doesn't matter as long as you have a shot caller. You could have it at ADC for all you care.
Is Stixxay going to be that?
No, they need a new player. They need players. It's just there's not much you can't say this is what they need to fix. Because they're just not good enough players to make it happen.
What if they still don't want to spend the money for good players and they want to find North American talent?
Then it's just not. I don't know. I can't tell you enough about the international or all these small
minute details.
I can't find these players for them. They need to do that themselves. But if they're not gonna change their players, what they need to do with these new what's it called? These new
tank jungling changes.
No, these if they want to keep these players, they're going to have to kind of swap back to what they did towards the beginning of the season, like Game 3, when they started finding a groove. They need to go back to this tank top. I would say Ezreal ADC every single time.
Kite back.
He's pretty
tanky,
okay
front to back type of compositions.
You can give support, I would say an Engagey or a Tahm Kench, a kind of protect the Ezreal comp so he can have even more disengages so he doesn't face tank things. So I think that would be not a bad idea. Give a supportive tanky, the supported tanky support. Give the jungler. I'm happy that's coming into the meta. Give him another tank, and then play off the Ezreal and whatever Power of Evil gets because he can make most things work. So all around, there's not much you can say. CLG just has too many problems.
They don't get too many leads. Their players are very average to decent at best.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's not enough going on with CLG for them to be able to make this happen. They just need a new team.
Yeah. I think after this year, if they don't make playoffs again, the whole roster is just getting one's getting put out except for Power of Evil.
I think keeping Biofrost would, again, you're not going to find many better supports than him, especially that aren't imports. So
yeah.
I think it's fine. I think everybody else needs to go though.
Gosh.
So
talk to Brandini or Kumo or Shiro, wherever he goes by nowadays.
I think that one, again, that pretty much wraps that up because there's not anything. You have anything you think they could fix?
Maybe because at a certain point in their drafting, if you become so predictable and people just ban out what you're good at, then they're not good in terms of players to be flexible.
That's the only thing they can do. They literally can't be flexible because their players aren't good enough to be flexible.
What about giving Darshawn Fiora again?
What about not?
So that's it for another episode of Pretenders to be Contenders, right? Is that what it's called? You named this.
It was from Pretenders to Contenders.
The next one we'll probably talk about some LEC or LPL team or LCK team probably, because NA is just for fun, right?
For fun.
How you about seeing Piglet on Dignitas eventually?
Goodbye.